Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been some time, but I thought I would make a quick update on my Whoop 4.0. So I think it's been actually it's been I think what, 4 months now? 5 months? I think, yeah, 5 months, because I got it right around Black Friday. So yeah, 5 months. Thought I would do one sooner, but life got kind of busy, as it does around this time of the year, so haven't had too much time to really kind of make any new videos. And to be honest, I haven't really had a chance to really start using this till recently, just because the weather's warming up now, so I'm able to kind of go outside and do more stuff versus just the winter time. So what's been new with it? So right now I'm charging it. So, here's how it is. And obviously I've been using it predominantly against my Garmin watches, my Fenix 7 and my Instinct 2 Solar. And I thought I would just give a quick kind of rundown in terms of what pros, what cons, and kind of just overall am I happy with my purchase. So I'll kind of first start with the cons of what I've grown to dislike about this band, I suppose. And really there's only two kind of big ones that I don't like. One is the battery life. It has a pretty short battery life for really what it is. I mean, for not having a screen and just kind of really monitoring the heart rate, and given kind of how big it is, I feel like it should last a lot longer. When I look at like a Fitbit, for example, which is about this size, those can go about a good week, and those have a screen. Given this one has no screen, and it's a pretty decent size, it's not small. I mean, if you look at it like, it's not like it's like a tiny itty bitty thing. It's still a good, good size to be able to last longer. So I'm pretty much charging this probably, I would say, maybe like every 3 or 4 days. So I think that's kind of, I would think a week would be something I would expect out of this kind of device. But yeah, so that's a con, is the battery life is only about, I'm only saying about 3-4 days of use. And then the other con is that when it comes to like training with this thing, for cardio it's fine, I suppose, but for weightlifting it kind of sucks. It does not do a good job of tracking weightlifting. If you like initiate an exercise, so one of the things you can do is it's supposed to auto recognize, but if you let me see here, if you actually start an activity, then I think it does a decent job of tracking weightlifting. I mean, weightlifting is always kind of a harder one to track, but it does not do it, like it won't auto recognize it. Where cardio, if you just start doing cardio, eventually when you go in your chart, it'll kind of recognize it and you can log it as a cardio activity. So for weightlifting, it's kind of not the best. I haven't biked with it yet, but I'm planning on now that the weather's finally warmed up. I got my bike out of storage. I'm curious to see how it'll do with biking, but not the best for weightlifting. So that's really it for cons, is really just the battery life and not really the best for weightlifting. I mean, and one other con, which is, I won't say it's a con because it's not like it's a mystery, is that this thing, the accessories for this things are proprietary and I think way overpriced. I did a video on how I made my own, just because I think it's obnoxious, given that this is already an expensive device, that Whoop kind of gouges you on any kind of accessory, but it is what it is. Now, as far as pros, what have I kind of liked about it? Well, one of the things I like about it is the flexibility of where you can wear it. So that was actually one of the things that attracted me to it, is that, I wanted something that was not wrist-based. So like that's my problem with some of these watches, is that, I'm a watch collector. I have a whole box of other watches I want to wear, and sometimes it's just hard to stop wearing this because you lose your data. I've tried wearing it on the ankle, but it doesn't fit, so you kind of have to make do. But I've always wanted someone to make something that's not a watch, something I can wear on my ankle, my upper arm, my forearm, somewhere discreetly where I can leave my wrist for one of my nicer watches. So to me, that's a pro. Is you have a lot of flexibility of where you can wear this. I predominantly wear this on my upper arm. I have worn this around my ankle, on the ankle, I didn't find the best results on the ankle because, like for example, I work and I sit at a computer desk most of my day for work, and while my arms are moving, sometimes my feet aren't moving as much, so it'll actually log like a nap or an activity. So around the ankle doesn't do the best job, but it works. But I wear it on my bicep the most, but you can wear it on your forearm as well, or you can get some of, like, they sell clothes obviously, but you can wear this around your waist or bra, etc. So I like the flexibility of being able to wear it where you like, or you can wear it on your wrist as well. Overall, I think this thing kind of is great for kind of just like lifestyle and fitness. I don't think it's really. I find the Garmin's are much better for like athletes, like better for training. If you're someone that really takes your training seriously and you want to monitor your training, always trying to set new personal best, you want to kind of continually elevate your level of fitness, the Garmin is a much better tool for that. This, on the other hand, is kind of akin to more of like a Fitbit, where it's more just for, general wellness and lifestyle. I think it does a great job with sleep. It tracks your activity. Just kind of, I think it's more focused on kind of overall health and wellness versus like activities and performance. So that could be good or bad. I know, quite frankly, I like it for that because you do get a lot of cool stuff with the app. And speaking of the app, I do like their app. It's a much simpler, very clean compared to Garmin. Garmin is a very busy type of UI. This one is much cleaner. You kind of get all the basics that you need from it. You get your sleep and recovery. You get your recovery and your strain, and that everything kind of really builds around that. Is your strain and your recovery. Obviously, every day you check to see how well you slept, so you can see how well you recovered, and then how productive you were that day is your strain. The strain goal is pretty hard to hit with weightlifting, I found. You can hit it with like a session of cardio, but weightlifting, again, doesn't quite register it very well. But overall, I think it's very easy to use. Like, it's very simple. It kind of helps, kind of dumb it down where you don't have a ton of metrics. It's got that journaling feature, which I know some people, when I was first researching this, a lot of YouTubers were kind of praising the journaling feature, basically where every morning you answer questions. And it's, to kind of help, I figure out what's helping or hurting your sleep. But honestly, after like a month, it's kind of redundant. I mean, it's kind of obvious after a while, what helps, what doesn't. Obviously, alcohol hurts. Obviously, caffeine hurts. Obviously, melatonin helps. It kind of gets a little redundant to the point where, honestly, I'm thinking after 5 months, I'm probably going to turn the journal thing off, because it's really, I think it's good for maybe if you're really confused about your health, maybe you could help, but it's kind of self-explanatory. If you eat before bed, it's going to hurt your sleep. I mean, like, I already know. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I already know what it's going to do to my sleep. I don't need a journal to tell me that this helps or hurts my sleep. So the journaling thing is kind of like, like I said, it's cool for the first maybe month or so, kind of play with. But honestly, at this point, I mean, sometimes I even ignore it because it's kind of the same thing. I mean, maybe if you have a very kind of, a lifestyle where it's very kind of not systematic. You're going to bed different times, maybe you work nights, things like that, then maybe. But for me, I typically go to bed the same time, I wake up the same time, I typically eat the same thing. It's, I don't know. For me, it's kind of useless. I mean, not to say useless, but it kind of gets a little, mundane after a while. So really the only thing I check is my recovery and strain. That's kind of really what I look at. And then sleep. The one thing though is, so in February, I got COVID, and this really didn't predict it. Actually, my Garmin watch kind of caught the beginning of COVID. I didn't get anything unusual on my Whoop. So it actually, on a Sunday afternoon, I was driving, And I was kind of feeling a little bit off. I just thought it was like Sunday, you know, kind of just getting tired. But I was driving about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden I get an elevated heart rate alert. You know, like your heart rate's too high, which is strange because I'm sitting in the car driving. So I dismissed it, and then I got another one later, and you know, again, didn't think much of it until later that night. I started getting the temperature, and then the next day I had full-blown high fever. Where the Whoop didn't really, I don't know, didn't do anything. I think people were praising it that was able to like predict sickness and stuff, but for me, it didn't actually do anything. The Garmin did a better job of catching it. So overall, the UI I think is great. Very simple, laid out, easy to understand. The other actually kind of cool thing is that you can actually pair your Whoop with your Garmin watch. So you can actually use this as an external heart rate monitor on your Garmin, which is I think kind of cool because this gives you the flexibility to wear it kind of away from your wrist. And I found that the further away kind of from the wrist, the more accurate the readings become. You know, I have like a Scosche wrist-based one, and I have a Polar one. I have a couple of these optical ones that I wear on my forearm or on my upper arm, and this can actually broadcast the HR to your Garmin watch, which is pretty cool. That you can actually kind of do both together. So to do it, all you really have to do is go to your sensor. It's actually paired to it's paired to the phone I'm using, so I can't show you. Actually, but in here you can. It would be in here where it gives you an option to broadcast it. But because I'm not paired to it, I can't. But it's very simple. You just go in here, hit broadcast, and then go to your Garmin watch and just go to pair new sensor, and it'll recognize it, and boom, you've got yourself a external heart rate monitor. So I think that's a kind of cool thing. It's going to come in handy for me for biking, because for biking, it's really difficult to get a good reading in your wrist because, you know, all the vibration, the watch is wiggling around. I just don't find I get good data for heart rate when I bike wearing this on my wrist. I actually usually I put this on my handlebars, and I wear like something on my forearm. So I'm actually excited to try to use this for that. So I think that's kind of cool that you can actually kind of still use the two together. So that's kind of really in a nutshell kind of my observations after 5 months of use. Cost cost comes up a lot when you're talking about the Whoop, because it's not cheap. I think if I have it pulled up right now, if you sign a 24-month membership, it comes out to be just, we'll say $17 a month, so about $400 for 2 years of use. And if you take obviously there's cheaper watches, but if you take the most high-end watch, like the Fenix 7, the Fenix 7 is roughly about, $800 new. And if you wear it for 2 years and you try to resell it, you could probably, recuperate maybe 400 of it. So really it's going to cost you about $400 to use the Fenix for 2 years. And it's going to cost you about $400 to use this for 2 years. So kind of the price really, I think, is kind of a wash when you're comparing it to the Fenix. As you go down the Garmin line, it gets cheaper. So then it may not be as cost effective. And obviously, this thing is obviously not in the same level as a Fenix. I mean, this is I'm comparing it because that's what I have. I'm a Garmin fanboy. I love Garmin. If Garmin would make one of these, it's game over. I'll never use another device again. But I've tried reviewing and testing other watches, and I keep coming back to Garmin. I tried the Amazfit T-Rex 2, wore that off and on, but it just doesn't compare to Garmin. I've tried, what's the other one? Gosh, I can't remember the name. The Pace 2, same thing. I just love Garmin. I think they're the best in the game, and comparing the Whoop to a Fenix is by no means a fair comparison, because this is really kind of a one-trick pony. Hardware-wise, it's no comparison, right? This is a very primitive thing. Software-wise, I think it might be kind of a toss-up there potentially. But yeah, price obviously is a personal matter. I mean, I think it is on the expensive side, if you ask me. But yeah, so that's kind of subjective. But in the end, 5 months later, Knowing what I know now, having used it for 5 months, would I buy the Whoop today? And I probably would not. If it was cheaper, I would. I think it makes a good secondary device, but I still keep coming back to the Garmin. I think it's just superior in everything it does. I mean, like I said, the only thing I like about this is I can wear it, other places, but in the end, I just don't think it does enough to justify $400. I question why professional athletes would really use this. Maybe just for recovery is the only thing I can think of, or Whoop's just paying them. Because I don't know, I'm far from a professional athlete, but I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I don't think this thing does enough to really kind of be for athletes. This is more just, I think, just like for general wellness. This is like a Fitbit. That's where I look at it. I don't think it does enough to kind of help elevate your fitness as much compared to Garmin. Garmin, I think, can match what this does and a whole lot more. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Maybe some others will disagree. But like I said, I don't hate the device. If it was cheaper, I certainly would use it as a secondary device. But if you're a heavy Garmin user, it's hard. It can't replace it, unfortunately. It's a good way to supplement it. Like, that's what I do. I typically will wear both. I mean, this one I always wear because, again, that's the advantage, is that you don't have to wear it on your wrist. With a Garmin, sometimes I'll take off because I want to wear my other watch. I have a hard time sleeping with these watches. They're just too big. So that's one thing that kind of bothers me, is that I can't sleep with it, which then kind of, messes up my body battery and recovery scores. All those things kind of get messed up because of that. So, that is what, I mean, that's just me. I know some people sleep with it fine. I'm like 50-50. One night I'll sleep with it, no issues, and one other night, at midnight I'm waking up and taking it off because it's like, getting caught on a blanket or pillow, or just causing my, if I sleep on my stomach and it gets stuck under me, my hands just falling asleep. But yeah, I know this was kind of longer than I anticipated, but I'll put chapters into the video so you can kind of skip to the end. But overall, am I happy with it? Yeah. Would I buy it again? Probably not. I just, I think it's a little on the expensive side for what it does. And again, I have my Garmin's already. If I were trying to look at this objectively and I wasn't a Garmin fanboy, then I think it is worth the cost. I think it is a great device if you're not like hooked on Garmin like I am, because it does everything you need, the bare minimum. It's not gonna, do all the crazy stuff that Garmin does, like your running cadence and your pedaling power, or count your reps when you lift, all those other things that Garmin does. It's just gonna really kind of track the basics. How hard do you work out and how well do you recover? And really, that's the foundation for general wellness or, fitness. It's all about pushing yourself when you train and all about recovering when you sleep. So this will do that. As well as devices, but I think this one does it really well in terms of the way it presents the data. It's got a lot of, the UI on this thing is really good. I like it. So if we look at sleep, I think it's kind of cool how it kind of tells you how much sleep you need when to go to bed. So this has a really good software platform, and for that, I think it's worth the cost. So, kind of make your own way how you what you want to do with that. But if you're deciding between this or Garmin, then Garmin unfortunately wins hands down. If you don't have anything, you're kind of open to trying something, and then this would probably be my second choice. Out of all the devices I've used, between Garmin, Fitbit, Polar, what's the one, Pace Pro, I forgot the name of the company that makes it now, it slipped my mind, but I've tried all the kind of brands, and this would probably be my second favorite device and kind of ecosystem. So yeah, but that's kind of my story. Like I said, I'll probably come back maybe in the fall after 3 more months or so and see how this does with cycling and kind of tracking that. I think this is where I think it's going to maybe win me back over, because up until now I've been doing predominant weightlifting with a little cardio, but now that it's getting warm, I start bicycling more often. So I think this will kind of be interesting to see how it does. So thanks for tuning in, and if you have any questions, let me know. And as always, I will catch you on the next one. Later.